You weren't on the desk with us for the day, but what was your take on the best of 5 and Royal Club's eventual victory?
I mean, Royal Club continued to play at the level that they've been demonstrating throughout Worlds. Uzi is obviously a monster, and EDG, I thought after a couple weeks they'd return to their LPL playoff form. They didn't. They really disappointed. I think we're going to have to give Name the Dade Award for the best player who didn't show up at Worlds this year. And also in terms of Royal Club, it's their second time in a row in the semifinals, yet they have an entirely different team except for Uzi. I think Royal Club next year should start a reality television show to replace all of the other team members with Uzi and see if they could do it again.
Double Lift, what's your take on yesterday's quarterfinal?
Well, I predicted EEG 3-2, and I've never been so happy to be wrong about a prediction because it was so fun to watch Starhorn Royal Club. Uzi, I think, was the best AD carry at Worlds last year and is once again the best AD carry this year.
Well, I've never been so happy to be right about a prediction because both of you were wrong. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, savor it. It's a rare occurrence.
A rare occurrence, indeed. But yeah, I was really happy to see Royal Club's bot lane. We mentioned Uzi, but Zero played so well. He was like peel bot extreme. He saved Uzi so many times on Janna, and that's why I think if teams figure that out and they start target banning Royal, they take away the Janna from Zero and then they ban out Ryze as well, then Royal might have some problems in the next few rounds. And we'll even see like the matchup that we're seeing later today, target bans might come into point there.
Yeah, we will find out, and we'll have to see who Royal Club will be facing because there's one spot yet to be decided for the semi-finals. Let's take a quick look at the bracket before we carry on with the show. And of course, it is the final battle between Najin White Shield and OMG to determine who will face Royal Club. And of course, we have the Samsung White versus Samsung Blue showdown still yet to come. Before we finish off this stage of the knockout round, let's take a look back at the one #World's big play that stood above the rest. Uzi himself is a one-man highlight reel, but his triple kill in Game 5 carried Starhorn Royal Club to the semis. From @Thermogenetic tweets, Uzi is the best ADC in the world. Double Lift shares that opinion. Imp shares that opinion. Let's roll the clip.
Name is at the back chipping away with a rat-a-tat-tat, but that might not be enough to hold them in this game. Stun to Uzi, quick silver sack, kill for Uzi. Name gonna be locked up. Name goes down, and it's all now on Koro. They dive on him, triple kill for Uzi. It's Royal Club that do it the hard way, but go through to the semi-finals.
And this was really just icing on the cake. I mean, he had played a spectacular Tristana game leading up to that, but the thing that impresses me the most about him is he understands his damage output so well, and he's really confident in his calculation. You'll almost never see him jump forward and not get the kill. He's not like one of those Tristanas that's like, maybe I can get it, jumps forward and has to flash out. He always gets the reset.
Yeah, definitely worked out in his favor. You guys at home can continue sending your choice moments from all of the games at Worlds to us by tweeting at LOL Esports with the #WorldsBigPlays. For information about all the teams, the players at Worlds, head over to lolesports.com for stats, videos, features, and more, and visit the schedule where you can vote for the team you think will be victorious in this matchup and going forward, clicking the thumbs up. You can find a brand new feature we recently rolled out by heading to watch.lolesports.com. That's where you can view the games with real-time stats in 15 different languages, along with Twitter commentary from the pros. So do check that out. Talking about some of the pros, we've actually seen 36 champions played by the contestants on the stage in Busan. I'd like to turn to our analysts and ask you guys to help put together our MVP team composition that we've done for the previous stages. Let's start with the top lane and the jungle, and with Monte Cristo.
For me, in top lane, I have to go with Ryze here. He's been such an important pick throughout the quarterfinals, and he's going to be an important pick tonight. Not because we'll see him, but because he's going to be banned probably with going and save there. But we've just seen how hard he can carry from the top lane. He's great in a lane swap situation. He has that hard CC for the jungler to come gank and get kills, and he scales into an unkillable DPS monster. So just a fantastic pick. And in the jungle, especially after yesterday's games, I have to go with Lee Sin. Insect made game-changing plays. Spirit made game-changing plays on Lee Sin as well. And just fantastic champion overall. Not a lot of damage, but if you're a player who wants a lot of utility and playmaking ability, Lee Sin is it.
And if we're moving down a map, we came from top to jungle, then we have to talk about mid lane. And yeah, we've had all these assassins, but I really like the Syndra pick. She's not been picked that very often, but in 4 games she was already involved in like 27 kills on her own. So that just shows how bloody, such of a monster she is. Okay, maybe a little biased because the Chinese play even more bloody playstyle, but I like her, and I'm waiting to see the Syndra Zillion comp because I just think that's so good. Speed Syndra up, just go all in, ulti, get revived, play the match out.
And Double F, round out our composition with AD carry and support.
Oh man, it's been such a pleasure to watch these bottom lanes. So AD carry, Twitch, picked 8 times in Busan so far, and with a 75% win rate, this guy, it's really surprising me that he's picked actually the same amount as the highest picked AD, which is Lucian. They're tied. I thought that Lucian would be a more kind of like all-around good pick, but Twitch has seen a lot of play too, so I think it just means that every team is willing to 2v1. They understand 2v1 really well. Twitch is the weakest AD carry among like Twitch, Lucian, Tristana, Kog'Maw. He's probably the weakest in lane, but if you can get him past that laning phase, he has such a monstrous team fighting ability that it just kind of makes up for that. And the support, I have to pick Janna. She's just incredibly good. It kind of scales exponentially with how aggressive your AD carry is. The more aggressive your AD is, the more you can use Janna. If your AD carry is already defensive, you don't need that extra peel that Janna provides. But Uzi, you saw he works so well with Zero because he goes in and then Uzi gets him out. Or sorry, Zero gets him out.
Well, very excited from Double F there to round it out. You guys at home can try out this same roster by heading over to the store to pick up the quarterfinals MVP bundle. It does include skins that were actually used by the World Championship pros, and you can throw down rune prisons. You can practice your insect kicks, practice hard. You can hurl those dark spheres and release howling gales along with your rat-a-tat-tats. While you're online, head over to Twitter. Today we're asking you guys which player and what champion has impressed you the most during the 2014 League of Legends World Champions so far, and why. So for example, we're looking for combinations like Save's Rise or Insect's Lee Sin or Uzi's Twitch like Double F was mentioning. In other words, which combo is the most impressive for World's Crepo? What stands out in your mind?
I feel like Mala Thresh should be added to that list because, for one, he's such a good support player, and he really pushes out the maximum potential out of a Thresh, which is really hard because he basically knows that champion in and out, and it's always a pleasure and a joy to see him play Thresh.
Yeah, I completely agree, but we want to hear your answers as well. Send them to us at LOL Esports with the hashtag Worlds. We'll check your replies later in the show and chat about them amongst ourselves. Finally, we're moving on to today's best of 5 between Najin White Shield from Korea and China's OMG. Before we talk about OMG and their last-minute roster change, let's start with Najin White Shield. They are blue side, they have the highest seed, but I feel their vulnerabilities in their playstyle were exposed when Alliance perfect gamed them, and Cloud9 took a win off them, forcing them into that tiebreaker for the top seed. Monte Cristo, what have OMG learned from the group stages from Shield play?
Well, they probably learned about their early game kind of lacklusterness. If the jungle ganks don't go right, they typically go very, very wrong for Najin White Shield, and then they have to overcome like a giant kill deficit. Also, their pick and ban phase can be a little shaky at times. Sometimes we see inappropriate picks like top lane Riven when there's a lane swap going on. Look, top lane Riven will work for save, but he needs to get that 1v1. So I think a little more caution in the pick and ban phase is warranted from Najin White Shield, as well as shoring up Watch's early jungle pathing.
Yeah, I've got a question about Watch. It's somebody that we've discussed quite heavily off air. Monty, share some of your thoughts on this jungler, because you said the best he ever played was at regionals when he qualified, but he hasn't lived up.
Yeah, look, I've been watching this guy for years, and yes, he's got a decent KDA at 4.58, and his kill participation is a little lower, not only because he's been a little underwhelming, but also because they tend to play a split push style, so you don't get those big team fights where a lot of players will get high kill participation. But he really needs to step up his game. In the Alliance game, we saw him go 0-3-0 early. He kind of started the shook snowball that made it so they really couldn't do anything at all in that game, because he had some pretty, there's no way to put this, better way to put this, but awful ganks in that game. And so he needs to really think about how he paths on the map and be a little more clever in his decision making instead of so easily readable.
So, Crepo, let's move on to OMG. They have changed their support. Data777 failed to impress in the group stages. He has been subbed out for Cloud. This is not a new thing. OMG have done this throughout the course of the LPL. Talk to me about Cloud and what this is going to mean for the Chinese squad.
I think regardless of like synergy issues, this will still be a good change for OMG, because Data was just underperforming at Worlds. He was just not showing up. And if we go back and we look at the records back when Cloud was on the team, they went 16-5 with him, and I believe like 1-6 right after once he was off the team, once Data joined. So that disparity is so big, and if they can even get a fraction of that power back into this game, this match will be a lot closer than it would have been with Data.
And Double Lift, what about the change for the AD carry perspective? How is this going to affect San coming into this?
Well, I have a lot of experience playing with new supports. I've played with several across my career, and I can tell you it's actually not as hard as people think to switch to a new support if you're going to be playing defensive. If you play aggressive, you have to be very precise. Your communication and timing and synergy has to be on point, because playing aggressive just takes a lot more coordination. But if all San is going to do is farm, which is what I've seen him do with Dada, then it's totally fine. They can just transition that into better vision control with the support later, and the AD carry can just team fight. And San actually has an incredible way. I think the statistic is that he gets the most CS differential between 10 and 20 minutes, which means he catches up the most out of any AD carry between 10 and 20 minutes, because that's when he gets away from Dada.
So briefly, let's quickly talk about Loveling in the jungle. Played as Alan last year in the support, moved to the jungle role, and he's been hit or miss. I asked you about Watch earlier. What's your opinion on Loveling, Monte Cristo?
Loveling is another, I think, jungler like Watch that either has a huge game or he doesn't really show up at all. I mean, taking a look at some of the statistics of this guy, he's got a lot higher kill participation than Watch, but again, they're more, but a lower KDA. So he's been so good getting big carry status in some of these games, but if he doesn't make an early impact, he really doesn't make an impact at all.
All right, so we've heard from the analysts briefly on the series. I want to put their knowledge to the test and figure out who they are predicting to win this series between Najin White Shield and OMG Crepo. Who is your victor and why?
I was initially going to go with Najin White Shield 3-1, but the change of Dada to Cloud definitely made me reconsider for a while. I'm still going to stick to my gut, but I'm going to make it a 3-2 for Najin White Shield. But it's a big variable in there. It'll all depend on how well Cloud plays and if he can carry on the world stage, because he hasn't played a single match in World Finals so far, so we don't know how he will play.
That's right. And even with that change, I'm still going to predict Najin White Shield 3-1 to be the 3.4th Korean team to get into the semifinals. I really think that Cloud or Gorilla is still going to be significantly better than Cloud. For me, Goong with his small champion pool has still been a lot more consistent than Cool. Cool really hasn't lived up to expectations. Going and Save, now they've both lived up to expectations. But other than that, I think that there's just a little more power on the Shield side. So 3-1 for me.
Double Lift.
I had originally picked Najin Shield 3-1, but after this change, I'm going to go with OMG 3-2, because I just really think that this change is all OMG needed to go from a team that just barely made it out of groups to a team that can make it go all the way to semis. The one thing I'm going to be looking out for is really Loveling versus Watch. I really think this is the match where Watch will be exposed as a weak jungler with poor decision-making. Loveling hasn't been amazing, but he's been a lot better than Watch in my mind.
All right, we'll see how that pans out. Freak also switched his vote from Najin Shield to OMG with the return of Cloud. So he feels that OMG will win this series 3-2. We're split on the analyst desk as we were yesterday. Let's see how you guys at home have been voting on LOLesports.com. According to those votes, 65% of you believe that Najin White Shield will advance to Seoul. You are siding with Monte Cristo and Crepo. And this is the last quarterfinal series here. And of course, we can't leave without the Prophet's thoughts. Even though his divine presence is not here on the desk, his prediction is with us. We reached out to Professor Crumbledore. He now has picked 10 of the last 11 games correctly. And in this matchup, he has foreseen that Najin White Shield will come out the victors. So let it be written, let it be crumbs.
Let it be crumbs.
We're going to head over to the casters to kick off game one, but first let's hear the two teams talk about the players and strategies that will make a difference in this best of 5.
OMG가 일단 해외 경험이 많다 보니까 경험적인 측면에서 그 팀 자체는 호흡이 잘 맞을 것 같고요.
打野是非常有名嘛，然后他们中单就是觉得比较就很稳定，然后他们整体队伍可能像我们中国战队的 EDG。
중국 쪽이 거의 한국이랑 좀 플레이 스타일이 비슷하다고 하잖아요.
OMG가 거의 저희 옛날에 하던 탑미드 캐리 위주로 좀 밀어주는 느낌을 받았었는데 그런 팀은 저희도 해봤고 잘 안 된다는 걸 느꼈기 때문에
我们一定要把握整场比赛的节奏。我觉得我们要赢他们，就不要让他们稳下来，就加快比赛的节奏，让节奏一直掌握在我们手上。我觉得赢他们就不算很难的事情。
Hello everyone, I am Lee D-Man Smith and I'm joined behind the caster desk by Martin DeVicio. It's Worlds, Lunga, and of course Sam Kobe Hartman.
Is that ever going to get old?
Never, never. I mean, every single person I've met today has been saying, it's Worlds. To never
It's okay.
forget. Just never forget.
You're not lying. It is Worlds.
It is Worlds.
So,
well, let's get things underway for these teams. Starting out, of course, on the blue side, they are Najin White Shield, the #1 team coming from Group D, of course, after that crucial tiebreaker with Cloud9. Starting out in the top lane, we have Save. In the jungle is Watch, Goong in the mid lane, Zephyr as the AD carry, and Gorilla on support.
And on the red side, representing China, it's OMG. Up top is Going. In the jungle, Loveling. Mid, Cool, AD carry San, and support Cloud.
And of course, for this game, we're going to focus on the top lane. The battle between the two superstars. As Save will be going head-to-head with Going.
yeah, and we have two teams right here who focus a lot on the solo lanes, which simply means Going and Save, they can be carry top laners, and they are superstars on their teams. We see a lot of focus on them in like pick and ban phase, but also in the game itself, it's often about who can get your top laner ahead.
And that's going to be a big part of the jungler's job this time around. It's interesting because both these teams have those inconsistent junglers. They're going to be a big unknown variable for that featured matchup of the top lane. Another cool thing is that both of those guys up there, they like to give direction to their team, even though they do have other shot callers. Both of them also help out with shot calling.
But is that a cool thing or just a thing?
Oh, Freak's not even on the desk
Started
today.
early. We got to fill in for him. So, of course, you just saw Go and focus there on this. Of course, we saw similar from Uzi, not with his team. Are we going to see any similarities with OMG today with the Star Wars Royal Club? Of course, this is a team that they've gone head-to-head with so many times. They know these best-of-5s very well because they've always gone the distance in them. But they're up against Najin White Shield, which is a different breed compared to Star Wars Royal Club.
Well, the biggest thing there from OMG, from Going is after last year, he was talking about how his biggest fear is being indecisive. So as one of those shot callers, it's going to be up to him to make those clear calls.
And OMG is a very different team compared to Royal Club in terms of how they look at the team itself. They have a lot of talk about doing activities outside the game, you know, being friends together. So we have to see what they can do, and I don't expect anyone to be left on stage.
And I didn't expect a Jace ban, that's for sure. Bans have come thick and fast. Maokai Rise kind of expected top laner. We heard, of course, Monte Cristo talking about Save and Go fighting over that one. Zillion Thresh and Alistair, very standard. But a Jace ban?
Yeah.
Wow. They have something planned here.
The bans came out really quick. The Jace ban, Deficio and I were looking at the Korean solo queue ladder account of Cool, and he actually had just been playing Jace. So same research done from Shield, it looks like here, preemptive Jace ban.
But it does mean Zed first pick.
Yeah.
And Goong so far is undefeated on Zed, and Save can even play it in the top lane, so it doesn't have to go mid lane.
And it means that on the other side, OMG were able to trade Lee Sin and Janna, two huge picks for them.
Absolutely. So, of course, Zed was first pick against, it was Group 1 to Game 1 of Group D. Can't remember which one it was. Blind picked it. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
But like you said, this is a big thing we've been talking about. Loveling versus Watch. It's almost a second featured matchup because it pairs in with Save and Going. And they will have to help each other out. That is possibly the lanes to carry. Of course, a lot of focus is on the fact that Cloud's come in. We will see which way it goes. Zephyr's played a lot of Twitch in the regional qualifiers. Has yet to pull it out here in groups. Did go with Corky a lot.
Okay, so just those probably back to Twitch. Twitch was his like main AD carry. If you look at regionals, and the way White Shield liked to play with the Twitch was he was gonna be the guy popping out whenever they want to start picks or team fight and just have the high burst for these 7 seconds and use that to quickly burst down targets. Instead though, falling back on the Corky.
The crowd are just like, oh.
Yeah. We saw it a few times. I mean, mid-game AD carries has been a big thing at Worlds so far.
Yeah, and you could tell what was going through Shield's heads right there. They were sort of mousing over the Nocturne and the Twitch, which were regular season picks for them, but they went with their group stage picks at Worlds this time around. Kha'Zix has been pretty big for him, as well as that Corky, as you mentioned. But man, I want to go back to that Lee Sin. I feel like that is just a huge, huge swing in this jungle matchup. For Loveling, this is his favorite champion, and that's a really crucial first lock-in.
And it's also Watch's favorite champion. So not only do you get Loveling on his main pick, you can also deny it from Watch here. And you now have a Sidestone jungler against the Kha'Zix who normally doesn't build Sidestone, which is going to be a big deal because Najin White Shield is a team who's known for their vision control. Small edge to OMG already just looking at the junglers.
All right, so they did just lock in Ahri, which is huge for Cool. That's actually one of the big reasons that they got their seed here. That third place seed was a big carry game of Ari from him. And it opens up a lot of pick potential. It's always a fun matchup to watch, the skill matchup between Zed and Ari in the mid lane. And can he land the charm?
And the one thing, of course, for Gorilla is he's picked and played any support he wants really damn well, that's for sure. Of course, Nami was one of the fallbacks, but it looks like Braum could well be the choice this time around. He's hovering over it, certainly giving it a lot of thought, and we're still wondering what is going to go in that top lane. We haven't seen either of them go in it yet. Oh, this is great. So this happened.
Top lane Zed.
This happened, of course, against Cloud9. As you mentioned, it could be Zed or Kassadin. Save and Goon can switch this, whatever gets picked now from OMG.
And count them, that's 3 assassins over on the side of Najin White Shield and a black shield to protect them from the charms. So they're gonna have some quick shields from Gorilla, and they're just gonna rely on a ton of damage.
There's so much single target damage and like pick potential from White Shield. Gorilla is a beast in terms of skill shots as well. He can land the binding. He makes it pretty much impossible for OMG to get an engage in now. You have to listen. He wants to kick back a target. Nope, Black Shield is there. Charm as well from Ari, making it really hard for OMG to actually engage onto White Shield, and they can set up the picks. And they love to split push. And OMG as a team is very tunnel visioned on 5 versus 5 team fights. They are not very good against split pushers. Now you have a Kassadin and a Zed.
Okay, so which one would you prefer? Obviously Aurelia's going to be in the top, it seems. It's going to be an Aurelia or an Ari. What would you pick against either?
Oh, that's a tough one here. I mean, Zed against Ari in mid lane. Zed has the pressure early on, so that could be in favor of Goong. But once Ari gets a blue buff and cooldown reduction and some armor, like an arm guard, she can actually take over the lane. So maybe we're going to see them swap after the start. So Zed in mid lane for the first few levels, then swap later on when the blue buff comes in. Blue buff Kassadin, blue buff Ari. You go even against each other, armor on one side, and then Kassadin has the...
So one more final thing, with an Aurelia in there. Are we actually going to see a split push from OMG? Because they like to team fight.
I doubt it. If they do split push, it's usually only for maybe 60 seconds or something, and then he'll join the team for a team fight. I think if it's going to be split pushing prowess, you've got to go with Shield here, especially because they have so many options with which to do it. And that's a great thing about locking in 2 different damage type assassins. As you said, they can switch around who's going into that lane depending on what sort of defenses have been built from OMG.
Yeah, and it's going to be so scary. If Cool in the mid lane on Ari doesn't actually get a lead early and snowball, he will never be able to kill Zed in the late game in a split push. If, however, he does get the lead, and because there's such a strong mid game here from OMG, they might be able to actually just win early game, win mid game, and close it out even before this Kassadin gets going and before Zed gets going at all.
Yeah, I mean, as good as the Ari from Cool has been, this matchup is so tense because if you miss that one charm, Zed can all in you.
Absolutely. This could be a very big first game here, of course, as we start this series off. Who do you guys at home think will take it in Game 1? Tweet us at LOL Esports and use either the hashtag NWSWin or OMGWin, and we'll look at those votes shortly. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Game 1 of the quarterfinals. The final quarterfinals here in Busan. Winner will face Starhorn Royal Club. Meanwhile, the loser will sadly go home, and all China's hopes are on OMG here.
All right, now this game, I just have to say, it would be tragic if there were lane swaps. 100% everybody in the audience is also rooting for regular lanes because this matchup, going versus Save, on 2 of their classic champions, 2 of their best champions. This is like one of the most looked forward to Chinese versus Korean solo lane matchups, you know, right up there with Uzi and Imp. This is just going to be so good in top lane.
And it's funny if you look at the 2 teams and the players, they kind of have the same style. Because you have this carry solo laners on both teams, Cool and Going and Save Save and Goong on the other side for Najin White Shield. And then you have somewhat weaker AD carries, where the supports of course have to try and carry them through the laning phase, and they need to get to this middle late game point before they can really impact. And then the inconsistent junglers who can show up. I think Loving might have an edge over Watch though.
Oh yeah, that Lee Sin pick is going to do wonders. We'll see if he does actually spend time up on that top side of the map. That vision point that you made was going to be a really big thing too, because building into that Sightstone will allow OMG to get more vision than usual. The thing is, Najin White Shield are so good at clearing out vision. Save has the most wards per minute cleared of any top laner.
This is going to be a push, and they're going to go straight blind into this push. They have to start out with a ward here. Or maybe it's going to be a binding from Save. We'll see how they go in. They're going to start setting up. It's going to be an invade any second. 148. Keep your eye on the clock. Neither of them can see each other. They're going to go dead. Face straight in there. Lovely's going to get through, but he manages to get out. Save. Watch is taking note. The exhaust is working on him. The OMG going to back away, but they are the ones with first blood, and they are still pushing.
It was only 4 members from OMG here, but the Howling Gale from Jenna at level 1 is so strong. It knocked up every single member from White Shield here. Gorilla couldn't flash away in time, ends up dying.
Cool went back so late to base there, 4 versus 5. What a big start here. Let's see how this first blood. Oh, it's going to be lane swaps after that.
No. Standard lane, just the top side.
The answer swap.
The switcheroo, and of course, both of them fighting on early. We'll see how it works out because it was San that picked up that first blood, so he can go back and get himself a chunk more gold than Zephyr will have a chance. Going, teleporting down the bottom. Save already done it as well, so we'll keep an eye on this one because it's not your stereotypical setup, a Kassadin versus an Aurelia in the top lane that's down the bottom.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Save. The funny part is he has these very unique champion picks. Again, we've seen Zed top lane, the Kassadin we see right now. He plays AP Nidalee top lane as well. Like, he's so many unique picks, and Loveling, he wants to invade already.
I mean, it was a really good ward by Shield because Loveling, one of the great things about him last year is he did these interesting routes that people weren't expecting. It was like he goes fight, Watch got it!
Fight, Watch gets it, Loveling's in trouble. Cool and coming around the side there, there's Goom. Loveling goes down, the double buff goes across, a single buff, sorry, it only went to Goom because he hadn't taken the blue yet.
Last year, he would do these level 2 red-to-red invades or level 2 dives, and they worked out for him then. But what a good counter from Shield. They have the ward in place. They see his invade and collapse. Great job from the mid. And
he's going for it. The Ignite goes down. He's got the red buff ticking. That keeps the slow on Cool. Cool forced out the way there. And this is going to cause so many problems for Cool in that mid lane. A red buff Zed this early on. He can just go all in again in a moment.
Yeah, and that was a very big mistake from OMG in this mid lane. Cool, he wanted to push out the wave and force Goom to stay on the tower and pick up the farm so he couldn't walk into the jungle and help Watch here. He did manage to get him pushed down in time. Goom walked in before Cool could react, and they managed to get a kill. And of course, Watch expecting the invade here, at least making it a bit harder for Loveling.
Yeah, I have to say, for Shield, you got to give that credit to Gorilla. That ward was his ward that he bought at the very beginning. The real ward that was going to last 3 minutes.
The real hero.
I mean, you talk about all the time, the prep here from Shield for long series is so good.
Cloud putting so much damage down on Gorilla. Gorilla taking, of course, the minion hits as well, which stacked it on there. The Howling Gale interrupting him. Watch, though, he is walking about here, and he's going to go straight into Loveling once again. This time around, will they fight again? Loveling doesn't want any of it, tries to safeguard away. Watch pounces on towards him. A lot of damage going down. Of course, that red buff slowing and burning on him, and he's not backing away. Catches him with the void spikes and clears out the ward.
And this is what Watch loves to do as well. Both these junglers can invade on each other, get the deep wards. Watch, he does it as well. Once he gets the lead, he will live in your jungle.
Going trying to put pressure on Save while this is all happening. San was making the move. We saw him there. They know he's coming down the bottom. Save's going to back away, so the lane swap once again coming in.
Yeah, jungle aggression from Kha'Zix as soon as he gets that lead over Lee Sin, and it pays off there. Save is easily able to back off. And up top, Shield are just getting a free lane here for Zephyr on Corki. They're trying to get him to that level 6 point very quickly so he can start throwing out poke.
And notice how he's pushing in the wave because there's no teleport for going, so they want to deny him all the farm here in the top lane. And because the rest of the members from White Shield is on the bottom side of the map, then OMG can't go and take the dragon.
Trouble for OMG. It's going to be a 3-man. Cloud went aggressive. But Gorilla and Watch are coming around the side. He's going to be the focus. Oh, the dark binding completely.
Mắt tím, một mắt xanh, thêm vào những bình máu.
Có lẽ là anh ta phải về nhà trước vì đơn giản là cái bùa xanh của anh ta ra trước, còn bùa xanh của An ra thì đang bị một cú chói và bây giờ khi Z di chuyển ra anh ta chỉ